I am deeply saddened to learn of the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Her Majesty embodied a lifetime of service to the nation and the Commonwealth. Throughout, she had a natural affinity with her armed forces and deep family ties to the Royal Navy. Service, dedication and respect were watchwords that guided her life. On her 21st birthday in 1947, as the Princess Elizabeth, she addressed the country and declared that her whole life, whether it be long or short, would be devoted to the service of her people. And from her own family links, as well as her role in the Auxiliary Territorial Service during World War II, she had an especial affinity with the women and men of her armed forces. Her Majesty's experience of naval service life began when she married the then Lieutenant Philip Mountbatten shortly after the war. She often remarked that she had such happy memories of her early married life as a young wife in Malta, where Prince Philip was then based. And she was immensely proud of the Duke of Edinburgh's outstanding successes in the Royal Navy, including command of HMS Magpie. It was a particular source of pride for her to be able to bestow the office and title of Lord High Admiral on His Royal Highness to mark his years of devoted support on the occasion of his 90th birthday in 2011. One of the first occasions Her Majesty met Prince Philip was when she accompanied her parents, King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, in 1939 on a tour of the Dartmouth Naval College. Prince Philip was detailed by the captain of the college to escort the royal party, and a spark must have been lit. For after this meeting, Her Majesty and Prince Philip began a correspondence which would in time lead to a very happy marriage, lasting until the Duke of Edinburgh's death 74 years later. So, as the daughter, wife and mother of naval officers, Her Majesty has played a central role in the life of the Royal Navy. Having launched the battleship HMS Vanguard in 1944, she would go on to launch the Royal Navy's first nuclear submarine, HMS Dreadnought, on Trafalgar Day 1960, and most recently the aircraft carrier which carries her name in July 2017. Her Majesty also spent long periods at sea with her Navy, from the Royal Tour to South Africa in 1947 aboard the battleship HMS Vanguard to her many happy times aboard the Royal Yacht Britannia. Throughout, Her Majesty retained her links with and close interest in the service. Prince Philip gave decades-long service as Captain General of the Royal Marines, and in 2006 Her Majesty bestowed the titles of Commodore-in-Chief on other members of the royal family to reaffirm these close bonds. Her Majesty herself had particularly close links with the frigate HMS Lancaster, known as the Queen's Frigate, to whom she was the ship's sponsor as the Duke of Lancaster, and also the aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth. And it was particularly poignant for Her Majesty to approve the name for one of the next generation of nuclear submarines, named after her late father, HMS King George VI. But throughout, it was her interest and delight in the women and men of her fleet that was most clear to see, evident from the photos published after every visit, whether to a ship, submarine, naval air squadron or commando unit. She was always interested in what the young men and women in uniform had to say. She was interested in what their families' lived experiences was, and she engaged closely with the civil servants who supported us in our endeavours as we served around the world. Her generosity, pride and support for her armed forces made her a lifelong friend of the Royal Navy and all her subjects in uniform. Her Majesty will be deeply missed by us all. God save the King.